Good day, sir. I am Francis Gabriel Solera. So for today, we are going to discuss or to tackle about the rule of materials, object in self-description, and material and economic self. So rule of materials, object, and self-description will be discussed by Ian Joel Rin.
The next slide is economic. The material self, according to William James, pertains to the object of places or even people which have been labeled mine. Such possessions are viewed as extensions of individuals' identities. For instance, your clothes reflect certain aspects of your personality, and you designated them as my wardrobe. This section examines how individuals create extensions of themselves via material things and the preservation of certain lifestyles. Within the framework of what a society views as needs and desires, this section examines how a person obtains goods, the variables that influences his or her economic choices, the implication of these elements for oneself. So, specifically, James identified the body as the innermost aspect of material self. Also, you perceive certain body parts as more private or intimately yours compared to the other. The next aspect is your clothing, the garments which protect as well as project your body. This is followed by your family. They are connected to you blood and you share their glory as well as shame. Your home comes next. It is where many aspects of your life have been developed. It is where you feel most comfortable and is greatly linked to your identity. This is then followed by the other possessions such as gadget, cars, collection, and etc. While it is true that the most material things that we possess are not the things that we need, it equally true that we have in our lives can tell other people who we are really are. Our possessions, gadget, properties, and belongings tell a lot of ourselves. These things were chosen by us because we see ourselves in these things. The product that we purchase are the product in which we ourselves with. For knowing who we are, we also need to know that we want, but the dilemma remains material aspect are ourselves who we are to know. First, the difference between wants and needs. Most of us confuses what is the needs. Some people think that they are just the same. However, the two are different from each other. We have learned before the needs are the things that we cannot live without. This includes food, shelter, clothing, water, air, medical, car, and other needs. In the other hand, wants are things that we just like but not necessarily our needs. This includes the cell phone, a new car, jewelries, and the likes. Regardless whether the things that we are our needs or want, we should always remember that these things tell something about ourselves. The next slide is what is the material self example. Material self of the physical elements reflect who we are, possessions like car, homes, body, clothes. Social self, the self is reflected to your interaction with others. Actually, a variety of selves respond to changes of situation and roles. A person's social life consists of various bonds that form with others such as family, friends, members of their community, and strangers. It can be measured by the duration and quality of the social interaction that we have regular basis both in personal and online. Human beings are social animals, and the tenor of someone's social life is one of the most important influences on their material and physical health. Without positive, durability relationship, both minds and bodies can fall apart. Individuals begin life independent for survival in the quality of their relationship, their primary caregiver, usually their mother. Humanity's survival as a species similarly hinges in the capacity for social living. Most of human history was spent in a small group in which individuals was dependent on the others for survival. Evidence suggests this is condition to which humans are the best adapted. Technology has changed the ways people interact with others in their daily lives, but it hasn't affected the basic needs to form supported bonds with the other people. In social interaction occurs between groups of two or more individuals. They may be more transactional with one party trying to get the other to behave certain way, or they may be cooperative and intended to provide mutual pressure. Studies suggest the quantity of social interaction matters. Spending more time around other people can increase an individual happiness, satisfaction with life. Understanding how to establish and maintain supportive connection in any media is an essential part of life. People who live alone especially benefit for cultivating a strong network for social connections. People have the freedom today to build their particular social cohort both online and offline. The social circles may be include family, friends, professionals, mentors, and other important individuals in their lives. Online socialities can be a powerful source of social support and joy, especially for people who are isolated for geographical or other reasons. This is, however, no substitute for face-to-face interaction, and those who spend time among friends and family report high levels of being the individual with fewer ties in real life. Many people find it difficult to make a new friends and adults. As they age, most of their times and energy get consumed by career, family, and demands. They tend to socialize out convenience with coworkers, bosses, the parents of their children, friends, and etc. But these relationships often don't depend on anything more than lasting. Next slide, Gabriel.
I am John Wagnevi Salant and I will be tackling about what is material self and social self and the five major components of our material self. Now, the material self consists of one's body, family relation, and especially possession. An example of material self is based on how a person's buy their clothes and they are attracted to objects rather than socialize. While social self, on the other hand, is essentially oneself as viewed by others, like how one interact with his or her family members, friends on social media, and talking to someone who he or she is interested in. Now, what is five what is the five major components of material self? Material self is composed of identity, body image, self esteem, and role performance. Personal identity is the sense of what sets a person apart from others. This includes the person's name, gender, ethnicity, and family status. Body image is a person's thought, feelings, and perceptions of the aesthetics or sexual attractiveness of their own body. Self esteem is an individual's subjective evaluation of their own worth, like triumph, despair, pride, and shames. And lastly, the role performance is the actual behavior and expression of an individual occupying a role.
So, what are the components of our material self? The components of self concept are first identity, and we have body image, self esteem, and role performance. Personal identity is the sense of what sets a person apart from the others. It may include the person's name, gender, ethnicity, or family status. So, our personal identity is, for example, a copyright of who actually we are, and it is a set of personal special attributes that sets us apart from the other, the organization or the group of people. For example, some people are good with instruments, some are not. Some are good in acting and some are good in singing, so on and so forth. let's talk about the components of material self. So the first one is identity. What is identity, you may ask? Identity encompasses the memories, experiences, relationships, and values that create one sense of self. This amalgamation creates a steady sense of who one is over time. Even a new facets are developed and incorporated into one's identity. So identity is like the whole or the actual of who you really are. The next one is body image. So what is body image? Body image refers to how an individual sees their own body and how attractive they feel themselves to be. Many people have concerns about their body image. These concerns often focus on weight, skin, hair, or the shape or size of a certain body part, or your height. So, body image, my body image is, of course, I'm actually a big person. I'm fat, but I am confident on what I look, but I'm certain that I can improve my body image so that it can help my confidence to boost up. That is the example of a body image. And then we have self-esteem. Self-esteem is your overall opinion of yourself, how you feel about your abilities and limitations. When you have healthy self-esteem, you feel good about yourself and see yourself as deserving the respect of others. When you have low self-esteem, you put little value on your opinions and ideas. One of the examples of self-esteem, no, not an example, but this is a big factor of socializing. When you have low self-esteem, you tend to be afraid of approaching or communicating with other people because you have this fear of being judged or you may make a grammatical error. That is one of the signs that you have low self-esteem. But when you have high self-esteem, you are not afraid to communicate or approach other people, ask questions, etc. and etc. And lastly, we have role performance. Role performance is how a person expresses his or her role into the society. Sociologist Irving Goffman presented the idea that a person is like an actor on a stage. Calling his theory dramaturgy, Goffman believed that we use impression management to present ourselves to others as we hope to be perceived. For example, I want to be perceived as a courageous person, and so in big groups I will act and do things that will make me look courageable. Thus, that is an example of role performance. So for the next slide, we have the material self-reflection. So what is material self-reflection? A material self is made up of everything that a person owns, like his or her car, house, clothes, and even her family and friends. Somehow, material self is also a reflection of someone's success or failure or a symbol of one's social status. In our own modern world, it is evident how people value material things more than the essences of life. For example, family, friends, and even peace of mind. People judge you by just looking at the brand of your clothes, and we are so engrossed with whether the shoes we are wearing are original or fake. All of these material things become our sole concerns, and sadly, that's how our life runs. And although people who possesses their wants and needs tend to be happier, I still don't think that material possessions should be a way to find happiness because not everyone is financially capable to buy everything they wanted. So it is important to have a proper mindset on things to avoid unnecessary problems like large debts caused by shopping or buying whatever you want. But for me, I think this is a big part of who you are. Personally, me, I want a lot of things. Thus, it defines me. I want to have PS4, I want to have this, I want to have that, I want to have this. And yes, I think that you can be happier when you have these material things. But I think you can be happy enough all by yourself. So, thank you.
So, what is social self example? Um, Social self refers to how we perceive ourselves in relation to others. You might interact with family members and friends on social media, have a meeting with boss or coworker, and talk to someone you're interested in dating. All of these moments and how we feel about ourselves during them make up our social self. Our possessions can tell about our identity. The world can help you retain your individuality. In addition, it might help you stay grounded. People may retain their identity through being tied to the same tangible goods, even when they are continually changed. For example, a family may see how much their children's room have changed, or a person's room might reveal how long they've lived there, and how effectively it represents their personality. Material goods might make you feel more ordered in your life. You may you may learn more about yourself and your life by observing the objects you own and use. Trophies and household items can reveal a lot about your life, including when you acquired uh when you acquire them and who owned them previously. These items make you feel better when you are down. Um, my home isn't simply a shell. When you enter this room, for example, there is more but yourself. Even yet, everything appears to have a character. Seeing our home as extension rather than possession is critical. You won't need stuff to indicate your worth if you are confident in yourself. If you don't feel safe in your own skin, the items around you will have a greater impact. Objects provide us with significance and help us determine who we are. It is important to consider what you surround yourself with a basis, since it may reveal more about your identity than you realize. From from the clothing in your ward, wardrobe to the photographs on your walls, each item has a story worth sharing to those who would listen.
Our possessions can tell a lot about our identity. Things in the world can help you hold onto your identity. It can help keep you stable and remind you of who you are. That's because people, even though they are constantly changing, can still hold on to their identity by being related to the same material possessions. For example, a family might see how their children have grown up by how much they've changed their rooms, or a person's room can tell you how long he or she has been living in the house and how well it affects his or her personality. Material things can help you from feeling like your life has no order. You can find out more about yourself and what is going on in your life if you pay attention to the things you have been used. Things like trophies and household items can tell a lot about what has happened in your life, including when you acquired it and who you had them before. These things help you feel better when you're going through a hard time. When I think about my house, it's not just an empty structure. The space where my things are located becomes part of who I am and what makes up me mentally and physically. When you walk into this room, for example, there's nothing more than yourself. Even so, everything seems to take its personality. The importance lies in how much we see our properties as extensions rather than possessions. If you feel confident with yourself, you won't need objects to represent how you value yourself. But if you don't feel very insecure with your identity, the objects surrounding you will have a more significant influence. What you keep around reveals what is important to you. Material objects are representation of your inner self and can affect what's most important to you. You think about the items then represents who you are in life. Family photos at home or on vacation, favorite possessions from childhood or baseball cards. These same things show up in paintings by artists who capture an aspect of their personality long after they've passed away. Material things can help you with how you handle your life by supporting the projects you want to do. Let's say you want to complete certain tasks to accomplish a goal. Having a desk calendar at home shows you how to plan out your weeks. It's not just because how it looks, it helps you stay organized. The calendar can reveal what's most important to you. What you choose to keep rather than dispose of can reveal how much you understand your identity and belongings. You may feel that your children, while growing up, significantly influence your personality and worldview. Getting rid of your children's things can be hard when they leave home. This meaning to their stuff and you can simply discard. For other parents, society pressures them to stay organized, so it's easier for them to throw out the child belongs.
Good day everyone, I am Injun Cadet John Valdaf A. Bastasa. Today I am going to discuss the material and economic self, the implications of position or lack of them for self-esteem and the feeling of well-being. So, in a number of research, they discovered that people's higher or lower interdependent self-construal, both in terms of chronic states and temporary priming situations, reduced their emphasis on materialistic values when they were faced with a danger to their well-being. In their study, the common idea that low self-esteem is a stable mechanism for high materialistic values is challenged. The findings demonstrate that the link exists only for those who have lower levels of interdependent self-control than the general population. Wickland and Goldwitzer proposed a hypothesis of symbolic self-completion that can be used to explain people's materialistic tendencies when they have low self-esteem. The research, on the other hand, indicated that the relationship between self-esteem and materialistic ideals may be further complicated by how people describe themselves. So, materialism may be a means of achieving individuals' low self-esteem or desires for individuality and recognition of their personal characteristics. As a result, they have placed a higher value on their material goods than they should. Extreme self-expressions through financial things, on the other hand, may not be the most effective method of maintaining self-esteem for a person who defined the self primarily in terms of interaction with their social settings and the close others. It follows from the distinctions that while people are motivated to maintain their self-esteem, they may be employ various techniques depending on where they derive the sense of self. For the people who place a high value on their relationship with others, prestige brands may not be enough to compensate for a lack of self-esteem. Whatever the method used to evaluate self-esteem and the self-construal, it appears to be true regardless of whether the variables are chronically measured or experimentally changed. Despite the fact that the current research or indicated a buffering impact of a high independent self-construal on low self-esteem persons, materialism. The relatively high level of materialistic ideals in collectivistic Chinese cultures necessitates further investigations. However, while individuals with a higher interdependent self-construal might be more protected from materialism in situations of low while individuals with a higher interdependent self-construal might be more protected from materialism in situations of low self-esteem. The generally strong materialistic values of a community could be the result of a variety of the other circumstances, as well as China as a rapidly rising country has witnessed a remarkable increase in its economic might over the last few years. When applied at the national level, this could lead to a shift in values in favor of materialism. Other variables, such as increased marketing activities across the country and the focus on hierarchical position in the culture, also could contribute to a rise in materialistic norms and values in the country. The research also has practical ramifications, particularly for programs targeted at lowering materialistic ideals, which are discussed more below. In particular, because individuals with low interdependent self-controls are more likely to use materialism to cope with the threats of the self and regain positive self-perceptions. Other methods of providing space of self-expressions and demonstrating uniqueness to promote self-esteem may be affected in promoting self-esteem, and the result may help to reduce their reliance on materialism. At the same time, placing a strong emphasis on one's connection with others when confronted with personal threats may help to mitigate the temptation to become overly materialistic. Given that materialism has the potential to negatively impact people's long-term life satisfaction, educators, practitioners, and parents may want to consider characteristics of the self when developing and implementing intervention aimed to reducing at materialistic values in children and adolescents. Thank you.
I am Clarence Sarcelao. So, many variables influence the decisions that are made while purchasing products and certain services, including financial limits, the availability of items and services, as well as the influence of one's family and friends. Although the most crucial factor is assessing if these commodities and services fit within the category of wants. Luxuries are synonymous with the term. People purchase them for reasons that do not necessitate their purchase. Second is the needs. These are critical for one's ability to survive. People acquire food, clothing, and shelter because they are basic needs, and they do not so out of necessity. The term needs refers to a person's most fundamental necessity that must be met in order for them to survive. Wants are defined as the things and services that a person would like to have as a result of his or her preferences as a part of his or her caprices. When it comes to purchasing material goods, most people take into consideration two factors. First is the utility. The way objects serve a practical purpose is of particular interest to me. Next is the significance. Concerned with the significance that has been attributed to the object, it is also concerned with the law how items can become powerful symbols or emblems of habit and ritual, which can be quite distinct for their basic function.